welcome to the deep dive. You asked for a way to tackle those huge life-changing goals, and you sent over some really fascinating sources about living what one author calls an epic life.
That's right. And our goal today is, well, it's to cut through the overwhelm of just dreaming big. We want to get straight to the practical stuff, the mindset, the tools you need to actually start acting big.
Yeah, extracting those key steps to turn this massive idea of an epic life into something you can, actually do starting now.
Exactly. And epic, it's a great word. It sounds huge, maybe a bit scary, definitely outside the usual routine.
Definitely.
But the core idea from the material right up front is that this whole epic journey, it starts with just one single step.
Which immediately makes it feel less daunting.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how the sources redefine epic. They argue, pretty convincingly, I think, that many of us have already done epic things.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Well, think about running your first marathon or maybe writing a book, getting a tough degree, things that took real commitment. We just don't always label them epic.
That's a good point. We achieve something big, then just move on.
Exactly. But the sources say, look, if you've done one epic thing, you've proven you can do it. You've got the capacity for more.
Okay, so if we've got that potential, let's unpack the foundation. How do we start? The sources seem to say the biggest initial hurdle isn't even doing the thing. It's just picking the goal.
That's often the case, yeah. People dream big, but then they kind of hesitate, they play it safe, or water down the idea so much it loses its power.
Right. So what's the antidote to that?
Clarity. Absolute, crystal clear specificity in defining your goal. If you're vague about where you're going, well, your efforts get scattered. You can't figure out the best way there.
Okay, so less, I want to get in shape.
And more, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Or instead of just, I want to retire early, it needs to be concrete. Like, I'm going to retire by age 60, make it measurable.
Makes sense. You need a target you can actually see.
Precisely. The author whose framework we're looking at, their own goal wasn't just be a speaker. No, it was very specific. To be a motivational speaker before audiences of thousands.
Okay, that level of detail gives you a clear direction, a destination.
Exactly. It lets you map out the steps and know if you're actually getting closer.
So once you've got that super specific goal locked in, what's next? The sources really hammer home the idea of deadlines. Why is someday such a killer of dreams?
Because someday isn't real. It's just a wish without a commitment. Our brains just let it float away indefinitely.
Right, no urgency.
None at all. So goals must have target dates. But here's where the framework gets really practical. It's not just one deadline for the final huge goal.
Oh, okay. What else?
You need deadlines for each step along the way. Every single part of the journey needs its own target date.
Okay, that breaks it down. Like the example from the source. The goal was a bigger speaking audience, right? And part of that was doing a podcast.
Yeah, and that big project wasn't just one deadline. It became a series of smaller ones. A date to start researching, a date to get the equipment, a deadline for getting it all set up. And then, importantly, separate deadlines for editing each individual episode.
So you're constantly hitting milestones. It feels like progress.
Exactly. It turns this massive, potentially overwhelming thing into a sequence of, well, manageable tasks. Each step feels meaningful because it's moving you towards that next mini deadline, builds momentum.
Okay, specific goal, deadlines for every step. Yeah. Now, this next part is where, for me, it gets really interesting. The psychology behind commitment.
Ah, yes, the power of making a choice.
Yeah.
And sticking to it.
Yeah.
Irrevocably.
The source material actually brings in some science here, right? A 2002 study.
That's right, from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. It looked at photography students. Really fascinating stuff.
Okay, tell me about it.
So they had these students choose a photographic print they wanted to keep. One group was told, this is your final choice. You cannot change your mind, period.
Okay, locked in.
The other group, they were told they had about a week. They could swap it out if they wanted to. They had flexibility.
And you'd think the flexibility group would be happier, right? More chance to get the perfect print.
You'd think so, but it was the opposite. The students who were forced to make that final, irrevocable choice, they ended up liking their chosen print more.
Wow. Okay. So why is that?
Well, the thinking is, when a choice is final, your brain stops agonizing. It stops comparing, stops the what-ifs. Instead, it switches gears and starts rationalizing why the choice you made was actually the right one.
Huh. So commitment actually makes you happier with the outcome.
It seems so. It eliminates that constant mental churn of second guessing, which can actually lead to dissatisfaction. Full commitment focuses the mind.
I love the analogy the author uses jumping off that 60-foot cliff when they were 12.
Yeah, that's a powerful image.
Once you jump, well, gravity makes the commitment for you. There's no climbing back up.
Exactly. And that moment, that irreversible step, pushed past the fear. It apparently sparked this lifelong thing for adrenaline activities, bungee jumping, skydiving.
Because the fear was overcome by the sheer necessity of acting right now. Commitment forced the focus.
Precisely. It shows how clearing that hurdle, the one where you can't turn back, unlocks potential.
Okay, so that mandatory commitment, it really links nicely into the practical side. We've got the goal, we're committed mentally. How do we actually start without feeling totally swamped? The source uses the pizza analogy.
Yeah, it's a really simple, relatable way to think about these big, epic goals. You wouldn't try to shove a whole pizza in your mouth at once, right?
Definitely not.
You slice it up, you eat it piece by piece. If you try to tackle the whole goal at once, you just feel, well, bloated and overwhelmed, as the author puts it.
And you probably miss the good parts along the way.
Exactly. So the key is stop staring at the whole pizza, the entire marathon, the whole book manuscript. Just focus on the very next slice, the next single step.
Just commit to that one manageable piece.
That's it. And the claim is that focused commitment on just the next step, it somehow opens the floodgates of creativity, ideas, and opportunity. Just starting the movement builds its own momentum.
Okay, but we all know people who have great ideas, they talk a big game, but then nothing happens. How do we bridge that gap between talking and, actually doing the hard work?
The crucial ingredient. Accountability. The sources are really clear on this. You need other people involved.
Why is that so important?
Because external accountability provides pressure. It keeps you going when your own internal motivation dips, which, let's be honest, it always does at some point.
Okay, so it's about answering to someone else.
In a way, yes. The author gives a great personal example. They wrote their first book, a huge accomplishment, but then it just sat there for 5 years.
Wow, 5 years. Why?
Because the internal drive wasn't enough to push through the fear of marketing, publishing, potential rejection, all that scary stuff.
So what changed?
They started telling people, friends, family, colleagues, I'm publishing this book next month. Suddenly, there was external pressure. The fear of embarrassment if they didn't do it became stronger than the fear of doing it.
Social pressure as a motivator.
It works. Same thing with running their first marathon. Once they told everyone, asked for donations for charity, backing out felt almost impossible. They were accountable to their community.
So the actionable advice is find your people.
Absolutely. Find a mentor, a coach, a trainer, maybe just a supportive friend who you explicitly ask, hey, will you help keep me on track with this? And crucially, avoid the naysayers. Steer clear of people who will just poke holes in your ambition.
To surround yourself with believers, not doubters. Makes sense.
And that leads us right into another challenge, this one, internal. Impostor syndrome.
Yes, the feeling that you're basically a fraud, just waiting to be found out, even when you have proof you're capable.
Exactly. That nagging feeling that you aren't as good as people think you are. The sources really stress how you deal with feedback here.
How so?
Well, the author admits when their book finally came out and got positive reviews, they really struggled to actually believe the praise. But if someone had offered even mild criticism, they'd have instantly accepted it as truth.
We are wired to focus on the negative, aren't we?
We often are. So the advice is you have to make a conscious choice to internalize the positive feedback. Believe the evidence of your success.
Because if you walk around thinking you're an imposter,
then eventually others might start to pick up on that lack of confidence. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You have to accept your capability to actually use it effectively.
it's about owning your successes to build that internal confidence. Okay, so we've tackled internal blocks. What about external ones? Every big journey hits bumps. People get stopped by the sheer size of the goal, like how can I possibly run 26.2 miles? Or just plain fear of failing.
Right, and the mindset shift suggested here is pretty straightforward but powerful. Trying doesn't guarantee you'll succeed, but not trying. That absolutely guarantees you will fail.
So inaction is the only guaranteed failure.
Exactly. We need to normalize the effort, not just the outcome. Think about Olympic athletes. They train for years, pour everything into it.
Yeah.
And most actually, don't win a medal. But was their effort wasted? Absolutely not. The journey, the dedication, the growth that's worthwhile in itself. Fear of failure can't be the reason you don't even start.
That perspective helps. The source gives a really powerful personal story here, too, about facing multiple huge challenges at once. A triple threat, they called it.
Yeah, that was quite a situation. An unfulfilling marriage, feeling stuck in a career, and realizing they needed a specific master's degree for the counseling license. They wanted the LPCC, but didn't have it.
LPCC.
Yeah.
That's Licensed Professional Clinical Counselor.
Yeah.
Needs specific education, right?
Exactly. A significant hurdle requiring going back to school. So facing all that marriage, career, education gap they had to make a choice, and they chose change one step at a time. It led to divorce, pursuing that graduate degree, a complete life overhaul.
Wow. That's commitment.
Huge commitment. And then just as things were moving forward, boom, the pandemic hit.
Ah, the ultimate external roadblock. What happened?
Everything shut down. The offices where you'd schedule the LPCC licensing exam closed. Speaking opportunities they were starting to get canceled overnight. The direct path forward was just gone.
Okay, that sounds like a point where most people would just stop, wait it out.
Right. But the author had this realization. The pandemic wasn't a roadblock. It was an unexpected detour. A big one, sure, but still just a detour.
So how did they find the detour?
Instead of waiting for the world to reopen for speaking gigs, they pivoted. They used that focused lockdown time to write the book we've been talking about. It became a different path toward the same ultimate goal of becoming a recognized speaker and expert.
That's brilliant, finding another route when the main highway is closed.
And the key insight there is always a detour. Always. You just need that clarity of your original goal and the willingness to look for the alternative path when you hit an obstacle. Roadblocks only stop you if you let them.
Don't mistake a detour for a dead end.
Precisely. It's just a change in navigation, not a cancellation of the trip.
Which ties into the final mindset piece, doesn't it? This idea of stepping up as the hero of your own journey.
Exactly. It's about shifting your focus. Don't put all the emotional weight on reaching the final destination. The framework reframes success as the journey itself.
How so?
Well, think about it. If before you were doing nothing towards your goal, then simply deciding on that goal and taking that very first step, that is success. That's progress. That's some achievement right there.
Ah, okay. Like the marathon example again.
Right. The author overcame the fear not by constantly thinking about the terrifying 26.2 miles, but by focusing on the immediate, manageable step in the training plan. Okay, today, Tuesday, I just need to go for a run for 30 minutes.
Breaking it down to the absolute next action. Stop making it mentally harder than it needs to be.
Yes. Focus on the effort required for this step, not the overwhelming scale of the whole thing. Do that consistently and the outcome starts to take care of itself. One step, one training run, one page written at a time. That's the core of it.
This has been, well, incredibly practical. A really actionable deep dive. So, to quickly recap the core plan from these sources. Number 1, choose a super specific goal. No vague wishes.
Right. Nail it down.
Number 2, set a deadline. Not just for the end, but for every single step. Make it real.
Crucial. Keep yourself moving.
And number 3, get an accountability partner. Someone to report to, someone who believes in you.
Absolutely essential for sticking with it. And maybe remember that underlying psychology. Making that commitment, really making it feel final, kind of frees up your brain to just do the work, defining the goal, taking that first physical action. You're already on the path. You can only walk the road one step at a time anyway.
We often make things more complicated in our heads than they need to be. Okay, let's leave you with a final thought to chew on, building on that idea of roadblocks and detours. The source material offers this quote, "My roadblocks are a mirage. They don't exist, therefore I am free to move forward." So the question for you is, what's the single biggest mirage roadblock? Maybe a fear, maybe some self-doubt that you need to see through and dismiss today.